now present For the Record.
Just ahead, an inside look into how a historic deal got made for the Dane County Jail.
We know what the conditions are at that facility. We knew things had to change. And we also knew that we were in the position to move conversations forward.
Plus, skyrocketing housing costs in Madison. Will it all come crashing down?
The building is not catching up to what we need.
Welcome to For the Record. I'm Naomi Coles. If you have ever spent the evening searching Zillow for homes in the Madison area, this news may not surprise you. A recent report finds the average cost of a home in Madison sits now at $424,000. That's an eye-popping number for the size of our city. Joining me to break down this trend and how it fits into our statewide picture, the president of the Realtors Association of South Central Wisconsin, Melissa Bierke-Marcraft, and Ruth Hackney, CEO. Thank you so much for joining us.
We're glad to be here.
So I mentioned a stat just now. How does that line up? That's not a report from your association. Where do we stand? I know you're the stat person, Ruth, so I'll start with you.
Absolutely. So we run the multiple listing service, and as a part of that, we run a monthly stat. Our numbers are actually showing that the median, which we find is a little bit more of a clear picture because it's that center point. The median price of a home that has sold in Dane County year to date is $394,000. So we're not too far off. It's still a very big number for a community our size.
Not much better for sure. So I guess we could say it's around $400,000.
Yep.
Melissa, we were talking before the show. You're a Madisonite. You were raised here. You went to UW. You have seen this trend rise, fall, wherever it happens. How shocked are you?
It's pretty amazing, you know, to watch the trends over the last probably 15 years. It's increased year over year over year. The last 3 years, even during the pandemic, were record-setting volume years. And to see everybody got their assessment in the last couple of days, and it's shocking, double digits, you know, going up. Historically, we've been pretty insulated in terms of how that affects our overall economy. So we haven't really had an issue recently, but it's pretty surprising to see these numbers, you know, pretty surprising.
Ruth, you mentioned for this size city, I mean, how are we in Milwaukee, right, for comparison?
Interestingly enough, the Madison area is about the same or even a little bit higher than the averages and median in Milwaukee.
Which is about double our size. Double or more. How is this impacting, you know, the people who are buying homes? What are you hearing and seeing in the community on the ground? So
it depends on the market. It depends on what sector of the market. First-time buyers struggling. They are really, really struggling. And that's, I'm glad that we're having this conversation because I think housing is certainly something that we need to start talking about. Affordability and accessibility, we need to start talking about. And the first-time buyers, they're getting priced out of the market. It's happening. In the middle, you will see and continue to see multiple offers on properties. We have an inventory issue, and that stems from multiple facets going back many, many years. You know, we used to have pre-recession, we had approximately, I'm gonna pull a stat that we used yesterday. We had approximately 100 building starts in, let's say, Cottage Grove. And recently we've had 4, you know. So the building is not catching up to what we need. We just have an inventory problem. We don't have a demand problem. We've got a supply problem. And it's permeating every area of the state.
How much should we fear perhaps a housing bubble pop? Dane County has been growing at such a fast pace in the last decade, the last 2 decades. Should we fear for the future?
No. I lived through the Great Recession as an agent. I've been doing this since 1997, and I lived through that. And it's a different climate right now. The lending practices are considerably stronger. Again, it's not a demand issue, it's a supply issue. If we had more supply, I think we would see a mitigation of the price increases. But the bubble, we don't have the inventory for that to occur.
But what about people, okay, so bubble is probably not the right word,
Yeah.
but let's say someone buys a two-bedroom home for $425,000 in Madison in 5 years. Well, that, I mean, people are selling homes right now that are double what they paid 10 years ago. Are those prices going to continue to go up, or is someone who bought just now going to see a slight decrease or just a plateau of their value over the next, say, 5 years?
So I would actually make the suggestions. So the supply issues that we're having now, they started in 2010 because we have been basically developing multifamily ownership opportunity and single family ownership opportunity at half the rate of the decade before that, while family creations and household creations have remained approximately the same or even gone up a little bit. So we're talking about a more than a decade issue of supply congestion. And so maybe that there might be a longer term discussion about those rates, the supply kind of opening up, but it's going to take a decade to build us or renovate us out of the issue we're in right now.
Can you speak at all to how we compare to other comparable cities, right? You know, whether that's Des Moines or Boise, Idaho, or outside of Wisconsin. Are you able to speak at all to the trends of where we sit compared to that or the other places in the country?
I was going to say, I'll let you deal with that, but I'm gonna take Madison as the economic kind of profile. Okay, size we compare to other places, but we're really, really fortunate because we are in a situation where we are where the government is. We are where the university is. We are where the employers are. And one of the things that I think we need to talk about when we're talking about housing is workforce housing. We are trying, you know, the Chamber of Commerce, they would love to have other companies come in. If you drive down the East Wash corridor, you see all that. They don't have places for their workers to live. And so workforce housing is something that we need to talk about, where from a Madison perspective, size-wise, you know, I don't know about what the economic profile looks like about Boise, but we're really insulated. And we experienced that during the recession. You know, I remember knowing that you could buy Detroit houses for 50% less. Nevada was hit, Florida was hit. We didn't see that. Did we see decreases? Yeah. So to kind of circle back to, are we going to experience a decline? I don't think we'll experience a decline as much as a plateauing of potential increases. When we're seeing double-digit, you know, 24% increases, will we see that? No. We'll probably go back to a more balanced market for 5%. Which would make a lot of people happy, you know, taxpayers.
Ruth?
You know, the national story is really this congestion of supply. And it doesn't really matter which market you are in. Some of the really large metro markets are actually starting to see slight declines in property values. But when you're looking at a Boise, you are looking at a market that's very similar to ours with a state capital and a university there as well. But they are they're in the exact same boat as us. Year over year, very significant double-digit increases. They're looking at the same kind of congestion and the same backlog of inventory that needs to happen. So we're actually very much on trend, although our prices kind of seem like we're higher in the Wisconsin market. We're very on trend with what's happening with similarly sized cities throughout the United States.
Very quickly, again, a lot more we could say on this topic. Anything you want to really quickly touch on that you think has to be addressed?
I still think that there's opportunity out there. So it's not going to necessarily be an easy road, but owning a home and investing in real property is the number one way for a family to build wealth and to build that generational wealth that we talk about. And so the first thing I can tell consumers is talk to an agent, talk to a realtor, and talk to a lender, and find out what it's going to take, either short-term or long-term, to make that a part of your reality.
Your insight is incredible. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, just ahead, an inside look into how a historic deal just got across the finish line for the Dane County Jail.